It's Easter, let's celebrate. Let's make some chicks for Easter. In the back, in the pink, you're going to see Trixie. In the front here with the blue egg, I call her Midge. Fontaine is in the purple, telling us that Jesus is risen. And Clinton is the front with the egg that moves back and forth. Let's try making these eggs and these chicks out of things we have around the house. I know that we don't have access to a lot of things. I'm personally running out of white paper. So I dug out all my craft supplies, and this is what I came up with. Here are the supplies that I use to create these little eggs and chicks. You need pencil and scissors and glue. Now under paper, I used a lot of scrap paper. I created my patterns with this. You can use white paper or colored paper. I used scrapbook paper because I had a whole bunch of it, and I was happy to use it. I also wrote cardboard. When I say cardboard, I'm thinking like a Cheerios box. If you only have white paper and it's too thin, you could glue your egg onto the inside of your box, and you can use that to give it strength. Other helpful items are Easter grass, cotton balls, black Sharpie, paper fastener, a hole punch, paint, or now I'm going to be using watercolor paints, but you could use markers, colored pencils, or crayons, whatever you have. This should be all about using what you have. I also wrote assorted craft stuff. I dug through my closet and I found things that I hadn't used in a while. I'm mostly a painter, so I don't keep a lot of scrap, odd craft supplies, but I used what I had and I was kind of surprised what I could do with it. Here's my stack of scrapbook paper that I found. Also over here, all my other things that I think I might use. Let's get started. First thing you have to do is create a pattern for your egg. Now you might want a large egg or a small egg. It really just depends on what you're creating. I made both sides. I made a large one, a small one. You see some of the eggs are larger and some of the eggs are smaller. It really just depends on the size of the paper that you're using. Now to draw your egg, you're going to take your scrap paper and you're going to fold it in half. I call this long like a submarine. It needs to be thin. And you're going to notice on my scrap paper that one side has the fold and one side doesn't. All right. Now flip it over because I've drawn my design on the back so you could see it. Now if you look at an egg, what you notice is that an egg is wider in one section, right in there, and it gets pointy almost at the top, and that's kind of the shape we're looking for to create an egg. Remember, this is the folded side, all right? I'm going to start at the very top because what I want to do is I want to be able to make my egg as large as this whole piece of paper. Putting my pencil down, and I did mine in Sharpie just so you could see it. You don't need to use a Sharpie for this. If you kind of plant your hand, you can get actually a pretty nice curve in here. Notice this is the widest end. And when you come down here, you don't want to cut up. I'm going to show you what happens when you do that. It just kind of gradually goes over there. When you cut this out, it should look like an egg. I'm going to show you some mistakes you could make. And this happens all the time. We all make mistakes. See my egg? It looks pretty well drawn. But if I open this up, I can see that when I cut my egg out, I'm only going to have half an egg. Now, if I did that, this is only a pattern, I would just tape it together. I wouldn't start over again. Another mistake you could make is to, when you come down from the top, you notice I wrote it's too straight. That's going to not look as well. And as you come down here, and you don't want to flip it up. Because if you cut this out, I'm going to turn it around, you're going to notice it's going to look like a heart. Now you'll make mistakes. That's why we start with scrap paper. Work on it until you get a shape you're comfortable with to use for your egg. And there he is, Clinton, hiding inside his egg. Oh, did it slid the wrong way. There you go. He can open, he can close. If you don't have a brad, mine's a snowflake, be creative. Maybe you can find a little piece of wire or twist it off the bread to make that work. I wanted a feather I mentioned earlier, so I made Clinton a feather for his head. I drew those eyes on with a Sharpie. But what if I used one of these other eyes? I thought they were kind of big, but I thought they were kind of fun too. What about those? You have to play with these things till you get them how you want.